Hello everyone, welcome back. I finally got back my Primary Arms 1 to 10 by 24 scope. So this is the third one that they have sent me. Okay, so the first one went back because it was out of parallax. Okay, it was having some focusing problems. I've covered that in the video. The second one that I got in, the parallax was good, but the problem was that the Allen key and the Allen screws that they gave me for the deterrents, they didn't match up. Okay, so they had me send that scope back to them. Okay, now luckily they're covering the shipping. However, they are not covering the ammunition that I keep using up to zero this thing. So I sent that back in, okay, and I sent it back with a checklist, okay, the Primary Arms, so that they can say, okay, these are all the things I want you to check. I said, make sure that you take the Allen key and actually tighten up the turns as if though you were going to use this yourself, okay? So I got it back, and I'm like, okay, this can't, let's try this out. There's no way that they could have possibly screwed it up this time, because they said that they were going to hand select it, okay? Because normally if you're buying a scope and you plan to review it, you don't want them hand selecting it, right? You just want them picking one randomly so that you can see what you're going to get on average. Okay, so this is the third one now, so we got a sample of 3. So they said that they were going to hand select this for me, okay? So this is the Allen key that they sent me. This is the freaking turret. I stick the Allen key in the screw, and I'm spinning this, and this fucker is still spinning in place. It's still spinning in place. I mean, when I did this, I was like, no, it can't be. It's impossible. They can't possibly screw this up again. I mean, this scope specifically went back for this one issue, and the Allen key and the Allen screw don't match up. Now, I did speak to them again, okay, and I told them, because the first time that the second one that I got in, and I was telling them, okay, because the screws are supposed to be like a 1.27 millimeter, and I'm telling them that it seems like these screws are a 1.3 millimeter, okay? I'm guessing, but it seems like the screws are 1.3, because the Allen key seemed, because I checked it with a different set, the Allen key seemed to be a 1.27, so I'm like, I'm pretty sure that we need a 1.3 millimeter, but I want you guys to figure this out, right? It's an $800 scope. Figure it out and send it to me, okay? So they sent it back to me. Now, the difference is this time when I spoke to them by email, I told them that, listen, I seem to have a 1.27 millimeter Allen key. And at least this time they were able to admit that the screws are in fact 1.3 millimeter. And that they should have sent me a 1.3 millimeter Allen key, which I did not get, okay? And they said that they were going to, when last we left off, they said they were going to try and find a 1.3 millimeter Allen key and mail it to me, okay? Now guys, I like it Primary Arms. I buy lots of shit for Primary Arms, but I want them to get their shit together, man. Now obviously you guys can tell, despite the fact that I like Primary Arms, I'm not here shilling for them, man. They don't pay me when I give honest reviews. I mean, I'm paying for this out of my pocket. I paid $800 for this. I want this thing perfect for $800, right? It's one thing if it's a $300 scope where I'll compromise. I'll take whatever shit they give me. For $800, I want this thing perfect. Now I like the concept of the 1 to 10. I did cover a different video. I mean, there is, when you're on 1X, there is a little bit of edge distortion, okay? So when you get up to the outer edge, there is a little bit of edge distortion, especially if you move your head slightly out of position, okay? So working with a 1 to 10 scope, yeah, there's some compromises. Other thing I've noticed, I was shooting 200 yards yesterday. The diopter in the back, like normally with lpvos, it's set and forget. when I was noticing with this is that, you know, when you go from like 10 yards shooting to like 200 yards shooting, yeah, you generally have to change the diopter a little bit. Now, you could set it for 200 yards, and what you're going to get at 10 yards is probably going to be useful. Like, it's not going to be a great focus, but it'll be good enough. So if you expect to be doing most of your shooting at 200 yards, you know, you can accept, I think, that it's going to be slightly out of focus at 10 yards, right? Likewise, if you're going to be shooting mostly CQB, right, you can set the diopter. Because remember, if you're going to be shooting 200 yards or 300 yards or 500 yards, you know, you probably have a little bit more time to adjust your diopter. Okay. Now, a lot of people say, hey, what this thing really needs is a parallax adjustment. And I do have other scopes that have parallax adjustments. The problem I have with parallax, with scopes that have parallax adjustments is every time you change your magnification, you got to adjust the parallax. Or even if you're at the same magnification and you're looking at different distances, you got to adjust the parallax. So usually with scopes that have a parallax adjustment, you're changing two things. You're changing magnification and you're changing the parallax at, you know, like constantly. Okay, so the thing I like about LPVOs is that you don't have to keep fussing with the parallax, but you have to be willing to accept some compromise that either at, you know, like at either at long distance or at close distance, you're going to be slightly out of parallax, or out of focus. So you have to kind of decide where you think you're going to be at most of the time, and adjust your focus, or you adjust your diopter to be focused at that distance. Now, the diopter is really supposed to focus the reticle. That's what it's intended for. You're supposed to like look at something that's featureless and focus on that. However, practically speaking, you know, you have to go a little step further. You have to adjust it a little bit more to that, so that you can see the target clearly. The first scope I had, it seemed like it was parallax for like 10 yards, so that like I could see like a bullseye like crystal clear at 10 yards and pretty clear at 100 yards. But when I went to 200 yards, because it was parallax so close, at 200 yards it was impossible to get the reticle and the target focused at the same time. Okay. So with the second one I got, and with this one, it seems like you know, like I can get a decent focus at 200 yards, but then like when you come into 10 yards, you're either going to have to accept that the target's a little bit out of focus, or you're going to have to, you know, just adjust the diopter a little bit. And that's the reason why I have the cover in the front, but not the back. Okay, because if you've got the cover in the back, what that does is it prevents you really from being able to adjust the diopter in the back. So normally when I'm carrying this through the woods, I have this slung over my back, right, like this. So I want the lens covered in the front. So if there's shit falling down from the trees or whatever, you know, the bottom one, which is facing towards the ground, you know, that's less likely to have stuff fall into it. If I was going to be carrying it like this most of the time, then yeah, I'd be more concerned about stuff falling into the lens on the backside. However, this is like, you know, this is how I like to work if I'm doing like CQB stuff. Okay, but oops, lens cover, right? But if realistically, practically speaking, for the way I typically work, I'm walking long distances through the woods to get to different areas. And having the weight in front of you gets tiring. So this is the way that I'm normally walking through the woods. So that's why I'm more concerned about the front cover, the front lens being covered up. Okay. So just a quick review. I've done a number of reviews on this scope. I love the reticle, this M10 reticle that they have, and I've done different videos on it. It has an inner horseshoe and an outer horseshoe, so that when you go down to 1x, you still have a horseshoe of a good size. I actually measured it out. It's about 140. The horseshoes in 1x is about 140 MOA. So it's like twice the size of your 65 MOA circle. Still very, very usable in CQB. It's a very decent size. It's basically the size of a man, right? It's like, shoulder to shoulder at CQB distance. Okay, so it's excellent reticle. I really like what they did with the reticle. I like that it's got mill lines, it's got auto ranging, it's got it's got a mill grid. So it's an excellent reticle, and that's one of the main interests that I had in the scope, the reticle design. I like that it's a 10 power. Okay, because with 10 power, this is something that I can, with 77 grain 5.56, I can try to get out to 800 yards. The difficulty is trying to spot the impacts, because the idea with the mill grid is that even if the wind is pushing your bullets around, if you can spot the impacts on the mill grid, you can do a correction, which works great if you're shooting against a type of background where you can spot the impacts. If you're shooting like a 308, there's a better chance that you're going to spot the impacts. With the 5.56, there's less of a chance because it's going to move the dirt less. And if it's a wet ground, it's not going to move anything. So with the 5.56, there's less of a chance that you're going to spot the impacts. Okay, but it's a great concept. I would like to see Primary Arms further develop this a little bit. They chose a 30 millimeter tube that's very long. I think this thing's like 12 inches long. I think they might have done better if they had gone with a 34 millimeter tube and tried to shorten it up, right? Because I don't think they saved a whole lot in weight, because what they, if they went with a thicker tube, it probably could have been a little bit shorter. So they tried to go with a thinner 30 millimeter tube and make it longer. Now, mind you, a lot of the weight is in the lenses too. So I don't know how much weight they would have saved that way, but I think the eye box probably would have been better if this was a 34 millimeter tube instead of a 30 millimeter tube. So that's one, that's one possibility. This is going to be basically a low production run. So from my understanding is that once these sell out, they're not going to make any more. Because, like I said, with the 1 to 10, there's lots of compromises. Like that edge distortion that I talked about earlier, a lot of people aren't going to be happy with it on an $800 scope. They're not going to be willing to pay that much money. I think that it would have been nice if they could have sold this a little bit cheaper. Maybe, I think this would have been a good $500 scope versus the $800 that they're trying to sell it for. The turns are nice, the clicks are nice. I wish that they had a better system for adjusting, like for the turret zero adjustment than these Allen screws. I don't like the Allen screw system where you got these Allen keys and you're trying to change the, set the zero on your turrets. There's other systems out there. I wish they would go to some other system other than messing with these tiny little Allen screws that they seem to have a hard time matching up with the right Allen key. So anyway, that's on the turrets. The length, like I said, it's a little bit long. Also, a lot of the length of this is back here. Like this magnifier piece back here, it's really long. So like even with the scope, even with this cantilever mount that pushes it forward, this is still, for the type of eye, because this has a very large eye relief. I've actually had to, because normally I would prefer my stock to be there. I've had to open it up just a little bit more. Okay, my one, yeah. So that when I come up, there's like no scope, there's no scope shadow or anything like that. So yeah, unless you have, because I didn't want to put a really expensive mount on this. I got the Aerial Precision one, which is good. It was like not too expensive. I think I got it for $65 on Amazon, or $60 on Amazon, and it was also light. It was like 3.5 ounces, which is good because this is, I was trying to save weight because this is a heavy scope, right? It's just because it's long. So I was trying to save as much weight as I could on the mount. So matching it up with the Aerial Precision 3.5 ounce mount, did work out pretty good. Also, what I did is, because I'm using an 18-inch barrel. If you're using a 16-inch, it's going to be a non-issue. But for the 18-inch, I had to use a hybrid rail, that has Picatinny here, but M-lock in this section. When I tried mounting this on my Ruger MPR, which had Picatinny all the way across the top, it just got just a tad bit too heavy. You know, it just felt a little uncomfortable as I came up. I didn't feel like I had that. It seemed sluggish when you came up. Okay, so using on an 18-inch barrel, using the hybrid rail is also a good matchup. So like I said, I've done a ton of videos on this, primarily because, and I think I'm like one of the few people that are actually covering this scope. Again, because normally Primary Arms, they give out scopes to people that they think will give them a favorable review. Lots of people out there, they're not gonna accept a scope or put out videos unless it's gonna get a good review, because if they don't put out a good review and they make, you know, not just Primary Arms, but any of these manufacturers look bad, they're going to stop doing business with them, okay? So that's not the case with me. Since I pay for everything, I don't care if they like me or don't like me, okay? Because I'm paying for it. So it's a great concept. I would like to see the 1 to 10 developed a little bit more. The this M10 reticle is absolutely the bomb. I mean, I wish that I hope they stick with it and try and use it for other scopes that you know, that they produce in the future. Okay, and I think that's all I have to say on this right now. Please, yeah, check out. Just search my channel name and 1 to 10. What is it? 1 to 10 GLX. Okay, primary 1 to 10. My channel name and Primary Arms 1 to 10 GLX, and you should be able to find all the videos I've done on this scope. Okay, talk to y'all soon. Hello everyone, I'm going to take a quick look at this scope in the realistic environment. So it's kind of, it's obviously it's off the rifle. I haven't mounted it yet. Do a zoom in. It's going to be a little shaky, but that's fine. That kind of simulates a situation where we're moving around. Zoom back. Let's see, I got some people here. Okay. So, yeah, one of the things I was hoping to do was get out there and see some people. Obviously, these people are a little bit too close, but that's probably about 75 yards there. All right. Okay, so let's see how things look here. So yeah, important to get out to a realistic area where you got real people moving around. Obviously with the scope not on the rifle. Get out there and see how things look. All right, let's start zooming up a little bit. All right, so we got there, we're at, let's go to 4 magnification. Start seeing some of the details. Okay. So let's get a little bit closer. So yeah, so obviously we can tell right there that this person is obviously closer, way closer than 300 yards. Based on the size of the horseshoe, I would say they're about 150 yards. Let's go a little further out. All right, so there. So these people are sitting, so we're looking at them from waist up. Try and steady this. Yeah, so they're at about 300. say about 400 yards, maybe 350. So yeah, obviously if I steady this, I lost it. That's why you gotta be able to zoom back so you can find what you're looking for. So that's the great thing about this being a first focal plane. You can zoom back. I can see it's about 300 yards now. Yeah, I'm holding it a bit steadier. So you can see how it's really important to be able to like zoom back in order to see, find what you're looking for. Because if you're zoomed in, you're not going to be able to find stuff. And then you can zoom in as you need to. And then just sometimes you don't want to be at max magnification. So the nice thing about this is like the measurements on this scope, they work in like the range estimating and a bullet drop. They work in all magnifications. That's about 300 there. So that would be my hold. Let's see, well, let's wait a little further back and zoom in on that. Okay, max magnification 10x, about 500 yards. So that would be my hold about there. So I think this is like my favorite scope, particularly because you got the outer post and you got that outer circle.